Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can absolutely see it. Let's see. Wait for the recording. All right. So hopefully everybody's putting up their Christmas lights and Christmas trees. I know everybody on my street is. Thanks, guys, for joining. We have Susan here today to talk to us about etiquette at our selling events and being a vendor and selling books to the people, to the public, the very dangerous public. And if only we could just get their money without having to interact with them, it would be great.
And Toni, don't forget Toni.
Yes, and Toni as well. We'll be speaking on this as well. If we introverted authors will love to know how to act towards human beings. So take it away. You guys can divvy it up as you want and have at it.
Okay, so this particular presentation, the Booker's Dozen of Cooperative Selling, we've actually done this one before, some of you may remember, because as Matthew said, most of us, with a couple of exceptions, are dedicated introverts, and this whole going out and talking to people and hustling your books and trying to be sociable and appropriate and at the same time selling a book is really hard. At least it was for me. It is for me. So we put this together basically to be helpful with guidelines of how to interact with the public, how to sell your book, essentially. So here we go. Okay, so the first one is dress for success. If you go to one of these craft fairs, if you see somebody dressed inappropriately, like they're sloppy or whatever, it's not appealing. So you want to look appropriate for the venue. If it's a Christmas type of venue or a holiday venue, you tend to be more cheery, or you might have some bling or something like that. If you're at a farmer's market in the middle of the summer, it's a different look, but you know what the venue is and you dress for it. Wear comfortable clothing and shoes. And the reason the shoes is underlined is because you will be standing most of the day. So people will not actually be seeing your feet very much. So make sure that whatever is on your feet is super comfortable to stand around in. Bare feet obviously doesn't work. Have a name tag. People want to see what your name is. You know, have it be like Joe Blow author or whatever you want to do. But you should have a name tag on with large letters that people can read. Don't just stick your business card in there, because while they tend to fit, they're not easy to read. So you want a big name tag. And then act like the outgoing person you would like to have selling your books. Unfortunately, we can't hire people usually. Pardon? What were you saying? Anyways, I will continue on. So the kind of people, is somebody trying to say something, or am I echoing?
I think
you're
we had some
echoing.
I'm echoing. Is it echoing to you or just to me?
It's okay. I'm putting everybody on mute so that nobody is echoing back. I think we had somebody accidentally not on mute. So
Okay. So we hope to have people who are really outgoing and friendly selling your books. Like, you know, if you've gone into a store and somebody just sort of looks at you sideways, that's a whole different thing from somebody who is cheerful and says hello. And you tend to prefer to buy something from somebody who is cheerful and looks like they're happy to see you. So try to look that way. Okay, the second one, be ready to sell at the starting time. Life intervenes, but it's really important to get there ahead of time and be set up and ready to go. Usually events start on time, but occasionally they start early. And if you're still setting up, or if you're not set up when it starts, it looks very unprofessional. Plan your setup ahead of time. Know what you're going to do. You don't start rearranging the table when you get there and thinking, no, I'd rather have it like this, and maybe it should be like that, and oh no, I need this amount of space, but I don't have it. So know how you're going to set up. Have your own change. You need a cash box of some kind and a credit card reader that you actually know how to work. there's often issues with Wi-Fi and with connecting. So if you throw on that you're not sure how to work it anyways, it gets very irritating for everybody. People will help you out, but you should know how to use it. At the end of the day, it's always hard because the end of any sale, it's always dead. There's very few people buying, and you sit there and you're tired and you want to go home. But don't break down ahead of time because it looks really unprofessional, and it gives us a bad name with the promoters, because if they're running a sale from 10 to 5, they need people to be there till 5, not till 4:40. So that's kind of a big deal. Just plan to be there. That's part of the deal. Squeeze up. The reason for this is more and more of us are having several books, and the tables do not expand. Our tables that we get typically range from 6 to 8 feet. Once in a while we get 10, but usually it's 6 to 8, more often 6, which means if there are 2 people selling, you get 3 feet. Sounds like a lot, it's not. So be very considerate of table space and layout. Plan on your half or your piece when you do your layout. And one of the things, because there's so little room, when you sign up for an event, it's only you who can be selling. You can't bring your wives, your husbands, your kids, your pets, or your iguanas, because there just isn't enough room. And a lot of us, because we're introverts, we kind of would like to have somebody there for moral support, but in that case, we sort of have to rely on each other. Can't have other people there because there's just no room. Certainly can't have pets or children running around or anything like that. It's just, it makes it too complicated for selling. If you feel you absolutely have to have them, then you have to get your own table. It's not a cooperative event then, it's your own. So that's, which is fine, you can do that. Don't be a jerk. This sounds awful, but sometimes we've all sold with somebody where we're thinking, what are you doing? Tabletop posters, accoutrements, things like that, they go for a private sale because they overwhelm other people's displays and they use up too much table space. Even if you only have one book, if you put up a big poster, it's overwhelming and takes away from everyone else, and it's not fair. So we kind of agreed as a cooperative that when you're selling books, you are selling books, not anything else. Be very gracious, support the other cooperative members. We're all in this together. It's hard for all of us, harder for some than others, but we want to support each other. The other thing is, if you go to a sale and you will see these people sitting there playing on their phone, texting and things like that, huge turnoff. Don't touch your phone except to run a credit card. Phone's kind of off limits. Occasionally you absolutely have to send a quick text or you absolutely have to take a call. Do it quickly, do it unobtrusively, do it when people aren't there looking at your books. If any questions so far? I can't see them. So
what do you do to keep people from just avoiding eye contact and skulking by? Do you have a lure of a candy bowl, or you just send someone gregarious over to wave and slap them on the back, or what?
Oh no, those are non-readers. You know, let them go.
Yeah, but we have some tricks that do work. You know, the candy bowl thing is kind of interesting because for a long time I did candy bowls, and all that happened was kids came by and grabbed candy and ran off. I don't think I ever sold anything because I had candy, so I quit taking it because it took up space and
money.
And money. And I thought it would be intriguing for people. You know what people like more than anything is your business card. They give them to their kids. They take them home. They do that. A business card actually works better than candy and does not take as much space and will actually do something for you later. That was my experience. Okay. Anything else?
We've also learned if you kind of put the business cards out there more in a mess and not in a nice little holder, they're more likely to pick them up.
Yeah, they won't take them out of a holder, but if you fan them out or even put them in a little pile, they will take them.
The one thing that I do to get people to stop is to engage them somehow. And Toni does this really well. you talk about, oh, I love your hair, I love your purse, I love your clothes, or what book are you reading? Or you start a conversation.
Linda, you're cutting in on my next on my part.
Well, expand.
There we go. Toni, go for it.
Yeah, why did I get smiled? Just because I grin so much my teeth are tan. Well, we were talking about, I'm one of the rare species of an extroverted writer. And so I smile naturally all the time. I can't seem to help it. And we find that this engages people more, that there's a friendly face. And as Linda was saying, I do tend to engage them. If I've got something nice to say to somebody, I'll say it, but I'll say it sincerely. It's like I always like to quote my mother: if you have something nice to say it. Life is bad enough. So, that engages people. I asked some woman walking by who was really dressed nicely if she'd take me shopping, and she stopped and talked and bought 2 books. But, we don't have to just be completely repeating, buy my book. Engage with them. I learned from politics that they had to hear your name so many times before it even registers. And this is a similar, only it might be more times, but you're kind of a little bit of a star. And they like to be able, if they see your book somewhere else, it'll be, I met that person, I know her. And I've had several people come up asking if they even remember me, if I remember them. And I usually do. But it's reaching out and remembering that we're all in this together. We're a team. And, your success is my success, is our success. So, that's why we work together with enthusiasm. I really would suggest trying to read some of the other books in the cooperative. So when you're there, you can sincerely cross-sell, and you can sincerely, talk about it. I even had one I didn't know much about, but I had read another one of her books, and I was saying that book was so great that this one's on my to be read list, and I'm looking forward to it. And that got someone interested. I mean, I'm not just selling my books, I'm selling for the cooperative altogether. And it helps. It goes back and forth. And besides, we've probably heard everybody's blurb in line. Pick up the book and read the blurb if you must. But you probably heard their selling pitch about 400 times. And you can really, help back each other up. Now, and try to keep some enthusiasm, and that, be proud you're together in the group. If you, God, the slides are ahead of me.
No, I was like, I thought that's where you were, and so I just kept going.
I don't care.
I can go back. You want me to go back or just stay there?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
The cross-selling is like a live review. That if you're backing somebody up, it's even better than a live review. It's one-on-one, but it really supports each other. And then that way your teammates will be more inclined to support you too. But
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Sure.
It occurred to me, we keep saying cross-sell, but what that looks like is if somebody's looking at Toni's books, I'll say something along the lines of, it's a really good story. These books are really funny. The mystery is great. When I read this, I couldn't wait to see what had happened. And did you know she's got more books coming out? And so you don't just say, oh, this is a good book. You're trying to say something very specific about that book, which is why you need to read the blurbs and try to read the books and listen to their sales pitches, because you want to add to what they're saying. Okay, sorry, Toni, keep going.
Oh, Okay, well, and that was one of the points is, in the cooperative, we do have a lot of books and they cover many genres. And I know none of us are fans of every genre. So, we really have to be able to do some gymnastics and be sincere and make eye-to-eye contact with people. And that's where Susan had mentioned standing, is that you're eye-to-eye with them and they're not looking down to you, or you're not just like looking up. You're more of an equal and you can have a better conversation with a potential customer. And never, never, never stand in front of the sales table so you block the view. Sometimes it'll bring some people, if it's a customer, it might bring someone else up, but if it's us, they'll just roll on by. And don't interrupt a co-op member that's really in a conversation with a potential customer. If you've got something positive to add, you can do that gently. And it's like Susan and her dragon books, because I've been able to tell about 1,000 people that both my grandson and I read them, and that we both just loved them, and that helps. Also, don't interrupt if someone is talking to a customer and about their books. Trust your partner to send them to you when the customer's done, or if they're looking for something that applies more to you.
Can I do the next slide?
No. In fact, I was just really getting, but it's like, it's greeting people, being friendly. And before long, they think of you as a writer. They think of you as someone important that they've met. And if they see your books, they start recognizing who you are. And, try to keep it appropriate, draw them in, be friendly, and just remember, you're glad to see them. That is the whole point of hauling and traveling and unloading. It's the whole point, is to talk to them and meet them. And they may not buy right now, but they'll probably buy in the future. But, it's the whole thing is that we're a team, and that we do want to make eye contact, greet them, talk to them, and, have them consider you almost like a friend. It's possible that you're a rising star and they're going to get to brag about you in the future. So we just keep going and stay friendly. And, well, I've got written down here about reading each other's blurbs, because you probably worked on it for 3 days, but it's a good talking point and helps sell your books. So don't divert their attention with non-book conversation, only if there's a gunman approaching. And just be friendly, smile, keep that smile going till your mouth dries out. So be considerate, be friendly and sincere. And now I'll give it back to Susan. I think I might have had another slide. Yes.
Start talking. You want me to do stop talking, or you want to do stop talking?
I think I kind of ran through it as, it's their body language tells you when they're done talking to you. And, to keep going on and on does not help, so allow them to move on. And, if you can, if they're not interested in yours, introduce them to your table partner, and just try to make them like you so they think about you in the future and then at night when they're sleeping.
One of the things that I've seen happen, and I have done myself, is that when you're trying to sell, or when you have your books there and it's a new book or any book and you're kind of anxious about whether it's any good, there's a tendency to talk nervously, especially when the person is browsing. So that's where it's the stop talking. Let them actually look at the books and be alert so that when they look up, you're ready to talk to them. But don't talk to them if they're reading the back of a book, especially like if they're reading the back of somebody else's book and you're like, well, if you like that, I've got this. That's, which is, you know, you really want to do because you want them to like your book. So that's kind of important. And the non-book conversation, you feel like you've said the same thing over and over and over and over again. And sometimes I think there's a tendency, just because you're kind of bored, you want to talk about something else. Don't do that. They're there to buy books, or we hope they are. So, okay, pass it on. If they're losing interest in what you're selling, suggest other people's books, because if they don't like your kind of book, they're not going to buy it anyway. So you might as well send them on to somebody else and let them have a sale, and they'll do the same for you. I've found a lot of times, like, I really like the covers of my books, and I put a lot of effort into writing the blurbs, and people will look at them and read the blurb and then put it down, and their eyes will stray over because it isn't their kind of book, or it isn't what they're looking for. There'll be a lot of times where they'll shift to an entirely different genre of somebody else who's there, and then they'll buy their book. And it's not that they don't like your book, it's not their genre. It's like Toni was saying, people have things they like and things they don't like. And they'll look at your books because you're there, and if you've got good covers, they'll look at your books, but it doesn't mean they're going to buy them if it's not their genre. So you want to try and get them what they do like, because then they have good feelings about the whole thing. And I've had situations where I've been so disappointed because they didn't buy the book they were looking at, and then they went to another person at the table and they bought one of the other cooperative members and they bought their books, and I'm like, well, what's wrong with my books? And then I've actually had them go away and come back with somebody else who does buy my book because they know it's their friend's genre or their kid's genre or whatever. So you just kind of have to go with it. Sometimes it's hard, but you have to.
Well, and you can tell a lot by their body language, just paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell an awful lot on when they're ready to move on.
Yeah, you can see it in their eyes, or if they disengage, like they may make eye contact for a bit, like if you're talking to them originally, and then they'll look at your book just to be polite, but it isn't really what they want. So you just have to let them go. Or conversely, if you talk to them and you're friendly, they sort of drift back again, and they often will buy a book. Sometimes I think they buy them just because they're grateful that you talk to them, because you know, the world is pretty rough right now, and people are lonely, they're isolated, and having somebody talk to them like they're important is a big deal. And Toni has a great line that they're easy to wrap, so you know, you can always go with, if this doesn't work for you, it might be something that one of your friends would like, or your grandchildren, or your kids, or you know, the guy next door. And sometimes they'll buy them for that reason. You never know why people are going to buy your books or what attracts them. You just have to be open to it. So you kind of have to have faith that you have a good book. I mean, you've put time and months, sometimes years into it. You have to have faith that people will buy your book, that they will value your book, that they'll really like it once they get into it, and that success for you is success for all of us. Because one of the things we want to do is promote that we are a very professional organization. So if they get a good book from one of us, there are other good books that other members have to offer as well. And you need to have faith that you can depend on the other cooperative members to support you and your book in every possible way. And my experience has been that people really have helped me with my books and supported me. They've written reviews, they've told other people about them. And it's made a big difference to me as a writer, and to my sense of professionalism, and the fact that I am a professional writer. I'm not just a wannabe. One of the things that I thought was pretty interesting is recently I started doing some volunteer work for an organization, and I said that I was a writer. And I had my website, and the person I was talking to came back to me a week later and said, "You really are a writer." She said, people tell me they're writers all the time, but they don't really have books or anything. They just maybe have written an article somewhere. So the fact that you have a book or a book almost ready, that is a huge thing that most people don't accomplish. And so that sense of professionalism has to carry through and carry you as well, because it's very easy to think. My family often jokes that one of our big failings is we feel like if we did it, it must be easy, because otherwise, how could we have done it? And I think that I don't know if other people share that, but I know in my family, we certainly do. And it's sort of like, no, not everybody does it. A lot of work went into it, and it came out all right. So that's a big thing too.
And let me add that I have business cards in every jacket pocket I own, just in case.
I typically have forgotten them, which is not a good thing. Or I gave them all away. Toni is much better at that than I will ever be. She's very good at it. So when you build success, you will build success for all of us and yourself with a generous attitude. And that generous attitude is a big deal. It's hard because that means you are giving away what you hope to have for yourself, but it does come back, so it's worthwhile. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Do we have questions? This ended up short. Do other people have questions? One of the things is we are just starting to get back into the events. We've got a couple this fall, not many at all. In previous years, for the newer members, in previous years, the holiday season from September to the end of the year was just packed with events. And we would be going to events almost every weekend, and getting everybody into them was a huge deal. Like I had a spreadsheet with like everybody doing it. And now there's only a very few of us who are doing it because of COVID. And it's hard to get in, but I suspect by next year we'll be doing a lot. They will begin again. There's usually some around Valentine's Day. There's spring ones, Easter, spring. There's never too many in the summer, although occasionally you get craft fairs and farmers markets and stuff like that. Then they pick up again in September and are crazy in October and November. So if you have a book or multiple books, start thinking about that in terms of how do you want to sell? What is your physical stamina? I, for instance, can only do a half a day because I have a very bad back, and that's as long as I can stand. Some people want to do all day because they're okay with that. They don't like hauling their books around. It's important for you to have a plan of how you want to sell in person. It's really interesting because different genres sell differently. I typically make as much money selling in person as I do online, because especially with my kids' books, at the fairs that are geared to people buying gifts, everybody knows a kid that needs a present, and books are always a good one. So there is that. So I hope that you do have a plan.
Yeah, they're easy to wrap.
Yeah. And you can project what you want to do, even if you find it nerve-wracking. And once you get used to doing it, the nerve-wracking piece is a lot easier. So
I have a comment about preparation. If you know that you're going to be doing events, start ordering books. Don't wait. And always order more than you think you're going to need, because there's nothing worse than finding out that your shipment isn't going to arrive before your event. It's just horrifying. And
yeah, the shipments have become worse and worse. They get slower and slower.
And they are worse at certain times of the year, like, right now they're bad.
Today.
Yeah, but it's something that you need to think about. So if you're planning on doing events next summer, if you want to go and do the street fairs and stuff like that, provided, street fairs are going to happen, You know, a couple months beforehand, sit there and think about how many books you might possibly be able to sell. And if you have a whole bunch of different kinds of books, you have to figure out, well, is book 3 going to sell as much as book 1? But over order and just plan on sitting on them for a while, because it's painful to not have enough. Because that, I know that's happened to Sue and Joel, that Sue has run out of books and there hasn't been enough to, and she's, you know, I mean, luckily they sell off their website too, so they could send people there, but it's frustrating if you don't have enough. And same with business cards. Make sure you have your business cards stocked up. So prepare.
And one of the things, like Linda's right, you have to prepare to sell more than you expect, which is a good thing. I know we went to the Snohomish, where was it? The Snohomish Fair, whatever it was.
Arlington,
that was it. And my dragon books are always popular, but I thought I had plenty. I sold them out, and I was sitting there with like 2 copies. And having only 2 copies sitting there makes you look like your whole thing is rather paltry, and people would move on without looking at the books I did have. So it's kind of important that you have a pile of them, that you're able to replenish that pile as people buy them. Linda's absolutely right. It's hard to judge, because even though several of us have done it a number of times, we can't always predict which books are going to sell. I have one book that almost never sells, except for when it does. And I'll go to like 4 or 5 events and nobody buys a book, and then I'll go to an event and they'll buy all of them. And I never know why. It's in the air or something. So you do have to be prepared for kind of a run on the bank, so to speak. And it's hard to know. You just do the best you can.
I know with that Arlington event, I had a box of my Mildred books I was sending to a book club, and we were hit so hard in that event, I had to go open the box and take the first Mildred all out of there, and I sold them again. You know, it was outrageous.
Which is a problem you want to have.
Because I'm smiling.
But it's still a problem. Another thing that might be worthwhile is, when you're selling like at a thing, know how much your per unit cost is for a book. Like if it costs $6.27 to print the book, and then they charge you X number of dollars to send 10 of them, and the tax is X amount. It's good for you to know what your actual cost is, so that if you need to give yourself a little bump, you can discount the book to somebody who looks like they're going to buy it, or you can offer a series discount or whatever. Knowing your costs is really important, and not everybody does. It gives you some flexibility in a sale that you wouldn't have otherwise. And sometimes, like for example, one of the things I found that sold my books better than anything is they have a price, and every time they buy an extra book, I dropped by $1. So they would maybe buy 3 books or 4 books, and I would make $3 or $4 less per book, or maybe $3 or $4 less on the whole sale. But I ended up, with a profit of like $30 or $40. But I can only do that because I know exactly how much every book costs, and I know what it's costing me when I discount it. And that's good to know too. Like sometimes you can have one that you give away as a freebie, so you need to know what that costs you in order to get a different sale where you will make a profit. So it just helps to be flexible. Oh, and you should also know what your other people are charging for their books, so that if they happen to go to the step over to the restroom and somebody wants to buy their book, you can say, well, it costs this much. So
Yeah, and it's also important that when you're pricing your books, that you are pricing them sort of in line with other people. right now, most of us are charging close to $15 for a paper copy. And you know, if you have a thin book like a novella, that's a little bit different. But for a novel, most of us are close to $15. And if you come in and start selling your novels for $7 and you're making like 20 cents a book, then that's just gonna, you know, annoy everybody else at your table. Because basically you're gonna sell more books just because they're cheaper, but you're not gonna make, you know, you're not gonna make any money off of them. The other thing also you need to think about, I know that I'm pretty sure Susan mentioned that you need your own cash box, and you need to have like 60 to 80 bucks in change for it so that you can give people money back.
I have actually had people show up with $100 bill, and I keep looking at them saying, why are you doing this to me? So you need to be able to make change for $100.
Yeah, I always have $100 start in my cash box, most of it in fives, because I charge $15.
On my kids' books, which are smaller, I charge 12.
Mhm.
And so I have to have ones to make that change. On my other books, they're up to 15 now, because Amazon, having taken over Create Space, charges more to print and ship. And
I charge $16.50 because I'm paying tax for it, sales tax for it, and so I need to have that factored into my prices. And then I also give a discount for multiple book purchases. So
I figure I just fold the tax into the cost. That's why I said, like, when I know my per unit cost, I know what the taxes are on it. And so that makes it, for me, that works for me to have a nice round number. But you know, everybody does it differently. People expect to pay tax, so they don't get upset about it. I just don't want to have to figure it out.
That's math.
So, any other questions? How many people here have actually sold physically, like been to events and sold their books? Have most of you, or is this new for some of you?
All hands are going up.
I think most of the people on this have sold books. Yes.
Okay. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you considered an issue or a strength when people were selling?
I have,
You know what I noticed though is, this is just seems off topic, but after Christmas, you can buy gift bags, big packages of gift bags for almost nothing. And that's where I think for 50 cents, I was getting 25 gift bags at one of the stores. And it has been great to pull out my polka dot gift bags and be able to send them on their way with a couple books.
Yeah. What was somebody was saying, asking something, or?
yeah, this is Diana, John, Serafina, Chloe. And I had two questions actually. The first is whether or not your tax is rolled in with the price of the book or you add that on afterwards. How do you actually get that tax to Uncle Sam? And then my second question is, I wonder about romance, if those would sell less well in person, because I think there are folks who don't want to admit they, read books that might have a racy cover.
I can address the romance one. Is they typically don't sell as well unless it's a women's affair. Occasionally you have craft fairs or events that are geared to women. They will sell well there, but they don't sell well at like street fairs, things like that. You might sell a few, but not as many as other genres for exactly what you're saying. And honestly, my experience has been a lot of romance readers read online, that they don't really want the physical books. So you can hand out cards. Now that's good, like handing out cards. And some people have experimented with handing out paid downloads where they give you money and you give them a card with a download on it. But that's sort of complicated, and I don't know if it works either. I don't know about the sending the money to the tax money? Linda, that's sort of your thing. What do you think?
Basically, you have to register with the state as a business, and you know, using whatever business name that you have. I'm not sure what yours is. I have a publishing company, basically, and I register with the state. They send me tax notices, and then I believe they just changed it last year so that now it's in line with the federal income tax. So it's due in April from now on. It used to be like January. And basically, you do it all online. It's complicated, and I haven't quite figured it out. But I took it to my accountant last year, and she said, "Oh yeah, you screwed this all up." So I let my accountant figure out how much tax I owe, and then I pay it. Does that make sense to everybody?
On the taxes, can I? Yeah, on the Department of Revenue website, if you have your business registered and you go to your account, especially the first time, it may be a little difficult to make sure you put you need your gross, you need your sales amount. How much did you sell? And they want to know where you sold it, because if there's local sales tax, they'll deal with that. They'll add it all up. If you're having a hard time with it, I've a couple of times found that if you call them, their people on the phone are fabulous. They'll walk you through screen by screen, tell you what to click on, and help you through it. And they have amazing patience. And that Sue has something else to add here.
Sorry,
Are you there, Sue?
writers what romance they
I don't know about other people, but it's not coming through to me. I'm hearing like a word every fourth word.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I've had people at selling events come up to me and ask if there's sex in my vampire books, and there is. And and then they say, "Oh, good. Well, I'll buy all of them." So I think the romance genre, sexual intimacy in books is going to be easier for people to sell now at events than it has been.
That's true.
Unless it's for the elderly, like my book.
Look, as far as the taxes are concerned, if anybody is using the co-op business license, they have to keep track of every single book that they sell, and they have to report it to the co-op so that we can in fact file an accurate tax return. People have not been doing that, and as a result, our business license is imperiled.
I don't know of anyone that has been using the co-op as their sales platform.
No, I mean, we've sold some of the co-op books, and then I know when I've sold a co-op book.
Well, if we're going to sell an anthology that consists of 30 stories by 30 different authors under the writer co-op heading, the state assumes that it's the co-op that is selling the books.
And what we do, Edward, at that time is whoever has sold the co-op book, then we put the money into the account. And I usually
What
send you
account
a
is
thing
that?
to let you know I deposited the money.
Hey, maybe we can take this discussion offline. This might not be for this meeting.
Yeah, unfortunately, the tax situation is very complicated, as people have pointed out, both on the individual and as a business. I just want to caution people, don't be too casual about the idea that, oh gee, I've got 10 books here. What the hell? I'll sell them to you for $100, and then you just pocket the money and pretend that nobody noticed.
I don't charge people tax at an event, but I keep track of every single book I sell. And come tax time, everything goes to the accountant, like where I sold it, how much I sold it for, what my basic costs were. And she sorts it out for me, but I keep very close tabs on everything I do.
And we've been reporting that to the state through quarterly tax reports, that each individual writer within the co-op is responsible and files their own taxes. What's becoming a complication is when we have co-op books that are going to be or have been sold, and there's no reporting tracking mechanism available for the state. So yeah, I agree with Matt. This is a conversation that needs to take place over a couple of lattes and probably in person.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Not regarding taxes, because they're horrible. All right. Toni, Susan, thank you guys so much for your talk here. I think this was, again, a nice little refresher for everybody on how to act and behave with our events, and hopefully help everybody sell a few more books. If you want to be involved in some of the up and coming events, feel free to reach out to
Me.
us. Yeah, Susan directly. Don't email me. Don't email Toni. Just email Susan. And she can let you know what's coming up. We have a number of events, and we're always looking for new people to attend. We kind of feel like we have the same people attending all the times, and we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. So feel free to email her directly. Thank you guys so much. Susan,
Oh,
Toni,
Matthew.
do you guys have any other questions or comments?
Did you want to let them know what has happened with our several deadly sins over the weekend?
Yeah, so Several Deadly Sins peaked in the top 200 on the Amazon store, thanks to our fussy librarian, Toni's newsletter, my newsletter, and Susan's newsletter. That we did a free weekend. It is still free for another, I don't know, about 10 hours, and then it will come off free. And then we have a number of authors who are going to be promoting over the next 5 days to their lists, and the book will be coming off of free and going to 99 cents, and hopefully will drive a lot of sales. We've made about just over a dozen sales already on some of our other books. So people picked up the free book and they went off and bought one of our other books as well. In the book on Amazon, I think I listed it at the top. I'll go ahead and paste it here, and give me a second. Several Deadly Sins. We have all of our books as a kind of a series. So the earlier anthologies are easily linked. So if you find any of our books, I've gone ahead and pasted that in the chat. If you find any of our books, you scroll down, and I've listed all of our anthologies as a series. Now, they're not, they're all standalone series, but each book standalone, but it does help, drive purchases, and it looks like that worked this time. And so we're doing pretty good. We're pretty happy with how it's turned out. Hopefully we're going to drive a number of sales. We've sold a number of physical books as well, so that helps boost the revenue for the sales. So we're doing pretty good right now. And since it's just been man hours for the book, we're already in the black. We don't charge ourselves for anything, so we've already made money, which is nice. And that's where we're at. Any questions or comments? Cool.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who did so much work. Like Joel did the editing, Roland did pictures,
Absolutely.
Matthew did a kick-ass sales thing, and I think you did the cover too, right, Matthew?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of people have really done a lot of work on this, which is why the cooperative has got money that can help fund events and help fund other stuff. And we're hoping that we'll be able in the future, if we get more and more money, that we'll be able to kind of offer help to some of the members in producing their books, but depending on what's happening.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. That's well said. I really appreciate everybody's hard work. I think it's been great. I do know that Toni said that our print copies have just arrived, so we're going to start to have print copies for the event for Several Deadly Sins. So, and the cover, I think the images that she shared on our messenger looked really good. So, looks like the book came through correct. Which is
No,
how-
Matthew, it's just one book.
Yeah, I know. I actually just bought you one off of the author copy because I accidentally sent some to Edward, and that was a mistake. So I just got one, sent it to you to check it out. So now we can go ahead and make.
You're not getting it back, and it's going to be delivered, by the way, next month. I don't know why it's a 1 month delivery schedule, but
It's some strange reason. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
And that is
It's okay.
exactly why Linda said to order early and have more books than you think you need.
Yeah,
This is
you're
exactly
not
the
getting
reason.
it back because quite probably the neighborhood dog will eat it, and that'll be that.
Yeah, perfect. So we're going to be making more purchases over the next month and making sure that everybody has the ability to buy, not at the full price, but if you want to have a copy and your story was in the store and in the book, we want to make sure we have author copies. And I think the author copies are going to be like $4 or $5. It's basically cost for the book, plus shipping and everything. So we'll make sure that's available to people once we have them, and we'll let you guys know when those are coming in. So that's kind of where we stand right now. All right, go forth and sell our books and sell your books and make money and don't pay your taxes. That's my line. All right. John, no, we did not do this